Story time, guys. There is this girl, we used to be like best friends back in our school days. She was very outspoken and socialized a lot. There was no day that would pass by without her posting one or two about herself on social media. She was a jolly good fellow and very kind as well. After we graduated, she got married, and that was when everything changed. She no longer posts on social media. She stopped going out and even stopped communicating with I and some of her other friends. She completely cut us out of her life. It's as if she went back into her shell, became reserved. I was wondering what could be the problem, because her husband, I know, is a very kind man. They loved each other so much that we, her friends, were even jealous of their bonds. I didn't believe he was the problem. Some months later, she contacted not just me but other of her friends. She wanted us back in her life. She even invited me to her place, saying that she wanted to catch up with what has been happening in our group, that she was feeling left out and all that. I also noticed my friend that had never kept to time and was now time conscious. She emphasized on me not arriving at her place a minute early or a minute late, and I must leave before 10 p.m. I was really happy with the invite, not minding the conditions. I wanted to find out what really happened to her, why my once lively and ever bubbly friend was no longer her usual self. The day of our meeting came. I arrived at her house at the exact time she told me because I didn't want to mess things up. She welcomed me, showed me the way to the living room, and excused herself. As I sat down waiting for my friend, I could perceive this delicious aroma coming from the dining room. And I walked there and was greeted by this feast neatly served on this massive table. It was as if they were hosting the president and his family. There is no way my friend would have been able to make all this by herself, and also not just for two people. I quickly ran back to the living room as I heard my friend coming. Instead of serving me the food I saw on the table, she brought snacks and drinks. We ate the snacks and gisted. Then we watched some movies. We were on the second movie when she slept off. When the movie ended, my friend was still sleeping and I didn't want to wake her up. So I decided to just take a tour of her house. When I came back, my friend was still sleeping. By this time, it was already getting late and I was hungry as well. So I decided to help myself out with some of the food on the dining table. After eating, I went to the kitchen to wash the plates. I was being careful not to wake her up. But what I saw in that kitchen, I couldn't help but exclaim so loud. Why are there maggots on the plate that I just finished eating with? When I looked at the dining, the table that was once filled with feast was now filled with different kinds of creepy creatures and maggots. I started throwing up, and the only things coming out of my mouth were maggots and creepy creatures. My friend came running. From her face, I could tell she was very angry. Why did you eat that food? Who gave you the permission? She asked me. She checked the time and it was almost 10 p.m. She turned to me and said, "You can't go back home again. The guests will be arriving soon." I asked her what guests. She said, "There is no time for me to start explaining things to you. You have to hide." So she hid me inside a cupboard, but I was able to see what was happening out there through a small opening in the cupboard. At exactly 10 p.m., I saw different creatures. Some were flying, some were floating in air. None of their feet touched the ground. They assembled the dining table, including my friend and her husband. Both my friend and her husband were wearing this glowing mask, and they started feasting on those maggots and creepy creatures. I was shaking, sweating from fear. I covered my mouth so tight so I wouldn't scream. After the meal, they started leaving, but then one of the creatures looked at my direction and said to my friend and her husband, "The rule is that all living things must be seated at the table before we arrive." Before I knew it, I was dragged out by this force and placed on the table. All of a sudden, invisible whips from all directions were landing on me. I cried and pleaded with them to forgive me. Guys, what happened to me next will shock you. I'll continue this story in part 2. You don't want to miss out.